The Rough Drafts podcast is sponsored by Unicorn.com, the world's premier esport betting site. Log on today to bet on all your favorite esports titles at the simple click of a button. Choose your game, choose your team, earn unicorns, and who knows, maybe you'll earn enough to enter to win any number of fabulous prizes, such as Logitech peripherals or CSGO skins in their marketplace. Unicorn.com. Log on today.
Internet. This is Chase RedShirtKing Wassenar. I'm a free agent, head coach, and analyst, and welcome to our Guess the Lines Rough Drafts podcast, day 7 of the World Championships. We are looking at Group D. D as in death, D as in destiny, D as don't you dare forget that this is Walter's favorite team fighting for their lives here. There's a lot to break down. Unlike yesterday's podcast where we basically resorted to Disney fun facts. There will be no fun facts. There will only be a huge breakdown as we try to figure out which of these 2-1 powerhouses is going to take the top spot and which one's going to be left home. These are good teams. And by the way, this is my co-host, Walter Ceades Fedczuk. I should probably introduce you at some point.
People know who I am by now.
You would hope.
I would hope.
But yeah, is it safe to say that the 2 seed that comes out of this group will be the strongest 2 seed? Like, if you're looking at which 2 seed has a chance to pull off an upset.
Oh, well, I mean, it'll depend on what the breakdowns are. Like, the 2 seed out of this group could get SKT, and I mean, maybe there's a chance for an upset because SKT in week 1 did lose that game to Flash Wolves, but I mean, that could just be the magic of Flash Wolves. So yeah, they'll definitely have the 5th best team, maybe even the 4th best team going into the quarterfinals will have come out of this group. But to say like, oh, they have the best chance of an upset, I mean, we don't know. Group A hasn't been decided yet, and Albus Nox Luna could still be the number 1 seed out of Group A. So
oh man, yeah, it's fun behind the curtain fact. We consciously made the decision to record this during the Albus Nox Luna versus Rocks Tigers match because neither of us want to jinx this. Yep. We are loving everything that's happening.
And I just did, so
you're a monster. How dare you?
What can I say?
We planned this, Walter.
Some people just want to watch the whole world burn.
Man, you broke the system. And
whatever.
I mean,
whatever.
You know what? We're gonna move on. We're gonna keep our focus on Group D for at least these next, 40 minutes or so, and it starts with Samsung Galaxy versus TSM, and I find this to be an incredibly interesting matchup. Mostly because TSM last time on blue side, it was a very convincing win. I don't think it was ever in doubt.
Correct.
Who the better team was at the time.
Correct.
They were starting Wraith at the time. CoreJJ, they've shown some more synergy with him as far as making team decisions, really, moving around the map more efficiently and getting the most out of their players. Does it worry you that you're going to likely face CoreJJ in this match?
No.
No.
He's deficient in the laning phase, and to the point where I think that Biofrost and Doublelift can really take advantage of that. They've already kind of given away their game plan of like, Ambition's not going to get a double kill in the bot lane for them every single time. That was really why Samsung was able to get that victory over Royal, was that they just got a double kill and they snowballed off of it. That's not going to happen to Doublelift and Biofrost. I don't think CoreJJ's champion pool is really I don't think his champion pool is right to play against super, super aggressive in-your-face laners like Uzi and like Doublelift. It's like Kench and Karma. They're very like... Karma is a lot of poke, but doesn't have a lot in terms of interaction in the lane outside of that poke, which I think it's a Doublelift quote where he's like, skill shots, just dodge them. Like, there's that kind of quote
it
that's
is
out
the
in the
most
ether,
banned
so.
support at this tournament right now. And for the record, you just said that Double Lift and Biofrost were too talented to get double killed by Ambition, when the team that they did that to had Uzi and Mata. I just want to make sure that that's on the record.
But that's not going to happen again. People are going to look at that film and go, "Oh, okay, this is what they're going to do." Like, that's not going to happen again.
But the other thing is, we're looking at a Korean organization. Like, they've got to have multiple ways to win. I think the problem I have
can we just stop with the Korean filleting here, please? We've proven over the course of this tournament that doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. I'm sorry. It's now an SK. It's SKT and Rocks. It's not the Koreans magically have this super secret stuff that makes them better than everyone. Like, no, it's now a team thing.
If you're going to go back to that, you can point back to Season 4. Naj and White Shield wasn't a particularly great team. Like, it's not like every Korean seed is always the best always, correct. But there is an infrastructure gap. Samsung is one of...
Not against TSM. Not against TSM.
I mean, they're one of 5 TSM. Organizations that have won the World Championship. This is they've played SKT and the Rocks Tigers and KT Rolster week after week. Look, I'm not trying to knock TSM. Parth has done a very good job in this tournament. TSM.
I just don't think that there is that large of an infrastructure gap when you look at someone like TSM. I think there is very little in terms of an infrastructure gap between them and the top teams in Korea. The only thing you might be able to say is, well, maybe Korea has more in-house sparring partners for each individual laner, but yeah, I think that argument is completely, you need to wash your hands of it. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I guess my counter argument would be, you want to go down the list. Your 4th place team versus Korea's 4th place team. 5th, 6th, 6th.
Okay.
Korea just has more depth.
Okay.
I would take KT Rolster over anyone else in North America. And in fact, I'd take KT Rolster over some of the teams in North America at this tournament. So...
That's not who you're playing, so...
It's not, but you talk about, well, there is no gap, but there is they do have this advantage that they play that quality of team week after week. They know how to prep. They know what they need to do, prepping for that KT Rolster series, prepping for all of the playoff series that got them to where they are. They have shown an ability to make adjustments. The key is going to be, are those adjustments going to be enough? And this is where I agree with you. I don't see the path for them because it requires Crown to outplay Bjergsen or for QV to suddenly become this great power laner. And I don't see either of those becoming a thing. I just think it's a bad matchup for Samsung. But I am not ready to see the point that Korea has an inherent advantage because they play in the LCK every week, because they have all of these in-house things that have existed for decades before North America cared about this stuff. That still does matter. It's closing, it's not closed. But
I wish you could see my face right now because it's just...
Look, you're the TSM fan. I'm not expecting you to say anything other than...
fan. This is just... I'm really sick of this whole Korea are the overlords because they're Korea. I don't buy it anymore.
How about this? Let's have a non-Korean team win Worlds for any time in the last 4 years. How about that?
We'll see.
We'll see. We will certainly have to see when best of 5s roll around. That's when we'll know for sure. Until then, it's a best of 1, and I agree with you that in this particular matchup, I don't think Samsung Galaxy is matched very well with what TSM is trying to do. So where did you put the line, Walter?
I have TSM at -150.
Yep, and so did I, and thus begins a string of unfortunate events that are going to be plaguing me throughout this podcast. We split that one because we both got it basically on the nose. The actual line is TSM -149. So we got it.
Perfect. Okay, we nailed it. Awesome.
It's exactly where it should be. Those of you who are, worshiping your Korean overlords, you can get Samsung at +115. I don't think there's value there, but you can do it. It's in play, I suppose.
No.
Let's breeze through the next 2 games because they involve Splyce. And Splyce is to this podcast what INTZ was on the last one. I mean, is there any reason to believe that Splyce is going to play spoiler to these teams?
They're going to win a game. I think they're going to win a game? Out of the 3 European teams, they've played the best. I think they've been the strongest of the 3 European teams. I'll go back. They kind of were close to TSM. They played them pretty close. They've shown moments where they do have that late game kind of playmaking potential. The problem is they just have fallen behind by so much gold during the early to mid game that it's really, really difficult for them to come back. It's like they're basically trying to play football with 9 guys on the field against 11. And that's like, it's possible to overcome it. It's just extremely, extremely difficult.
And I would argue that, if we're going to say, TSM is as close as a Western team has ever come to Korean infrastructure, which I think is a fair point to make, isn't Splyce about as far away as any of these Western teams? Like, they were going to relegations about a split ago. Yamato Cannon has never coached an international game before this tournament. None of these players have ever seen time on the international stage. And you're playing 3 of the most experienced organizations, at the very least, that this tournament has. Every single one of these orgs has made it to Worlds multiple times.
The organization thing, though, doesn't hold water necessarily, because you have to then look and go, okay, TSM is probably a great example of your point of, like, organizationally, they have a ton of experience from top to bottom of being at international tournaments. I can't say that specifically about Royal or Samsung because we have no idea what the behind-the-scenes infrastructure is. We don't know if... I don't know off the top of my head if this is the same coaching staff that was there with Samsung Blue and White.
I can confirm that at least the head coach is the head coach from the old Samsung days.
Okay,
like
fine.
They don't... Like, Koreans, as a general rule, you'd really have to screw up in order to lose
fine,
that
but
job.
none of their players had any international tournament experience in terms of that. So, like, that's why you say infrastructure.
Are you saying that CoreJJ's NA-LCS experience didn't prep him properly for the World?
No, that's not international. That's not why. Like, I'm taking all that out, and I'm just looking at the 5 players that are going to be on Summoner's Rift, and Wonder has played terribly through their first 3 games. And there's just something that tells me that Splyce is not so terrible of a team they're going to lose all 6 of their games. And that Wonder is not so terrible that he's going to lose his lane 6 times in a row. There's going to be one game here where they come out and they ball and they game a bit and they're going to give one of these teams a run for their money. I don't know which team that is, though. I want to hazard that it's probably Samsung because I think Samsung has the weaker of the 3 top laners. But I just think Splyce is going to win a game. I don't know which one it is, which is a problem since I'm a gambler.
I mean, in another group, I would agree with you. I think the difference here is I think every team in this group is very strong. I really loved the adjustments that Samsung made when they played Royal Never Give Up. I thought it was a smart draft. I thought it was a smart, team play. And they were the ones that were looking the weakest of the big 3 at the time. Royal's been playing out of their minds in everything but that Samsung game. And TSM recovered from the Royal loss beautifully. I don't look at any of those teams as being particularly weak in terms of being able to prep for this kind of matchup in order to take advantage of the weaknesses because, let's say that Wonder plays well. Okay, that's fine. Your AD carry is still Kabi. Mickey is still having a terrible tournament. Senkux is still very mixed, and I would say much more negative than positive. I have no idea what Trashy's done in any of the games. Like, this is completely out of his champion meta. I just think, there's certainly something to be said about there is upset potential. You never want to just say someone's going to be 0-6. G2 is well on their way to 0-6, but it is hard to lose all 6 of your games. When Brazil can win a game, you would imagine that Europe is going to win a couple more.
Yeah, I think they've got like 2 more in them. One for H2K, one for Splyce. So
at the end of the day, this is what we said 2 weeks into the EULCS. We thought Europe had dropped off. And then we all forgot when they all did, had some fun playoff series. And now they're at the world stage. We're like, oh, yeah, Europe dropped off.
Bad this
crap.
Year. Yeah.
It's, well, of course, regardless of, like you said, we don't know which team Splyce would play Spoiler 2 if they're going to play it. So it's going to, when we're guessing gambling lines, we cannot assume like, oh, yes, this is the team that Splyce will play Spoiler 2. Of the 3, where would you rank Royal Never Give Up as far as most likely to least likely?
Least likely.
Yeah.
I think they're the least likely just because Mata and Uzi just are going to just completely style on Kabe and Mickey. Sorry. There's no easier way to put it. I think Looper is just an incredibly safe top laner, which we haven't seen like the Looper carry game yet, which as we get later into the tournament is more and more likely to happen because if you remember Samson White, it was the later stages of the tournament where all of a sudden he like turned it on and was like, I'm an unstoppable killing machine out of the top lane. And everyone's like, well, that's what you get from the Singed main. Just, he needs to ramp up. Takes 2 weeks for him to ramp up, but he'll get there, and then you don't chase him. And that's basically Luber's career in a nutshell. So
yeah,
I think they're the least likely. They're just the strongest talent team, I think, across the board.
I want him to bring out the Singed again. That was so much fun.
Well, it might be this game.
He did it in the Chinese playoffs, and it was a win. So I want to see it happen again.
In the
he
right
brought
matchup,
up the Samsung skin.
Against a Poppy, I think that'd be like a great pick. If you like Haunters or someone went like Poppy top, I think Singed would be a perfect pick into that because Poppy isn't really going to be able to punish it. Like, she wants to chase you down and you're Singed and you're like, hey, Poison Trail, what's up?
Yeah, so. That would be fun. That's what I'm crossing my fingers for. Where do you see the line, Walter?
I have it as Royal at minus 450.
Okay, you get this one.
Hey.
I said Royal minus 500. It is Royal minus 400.
Okay.
Splyce plus 275.
A little Chinese disrespect, but
it's a little low. I think when you put it in the context of the other two Splyce lines, it'll start kind of making sense. Okay. Which, let's get to the next one. TSM versus Splyce. Again, most likely to least likely.
Second.
You say, okay. So honestly, I agree with you as well. Maybe Wonder could do something against Hanser. Like, is that, if you're Yamato Cannon, you have to come up with an idea of how you're going to beat TSM.
Yeah.
What are you most afraid of as a TSM fan?
Cannon. Cannon. I think that's the pick for Wonder. It makes up for some of his. It's a really good laning pick, and he's a pretty good laner actually. And through last year and through this year and the year before, he's been a pretty good laner, building up a nice CS differential. It gives a lot for Trashy to work with coming into the lane. If he's going to play Rek'Sai or Lee Sin or Elise, especially Elise, Elise Cannon would be a really dirty lane for them to have up against Haunters. And it just works well into anything. What is Haunters going to play at that point? Maybe Rumble, and Rumble is just going to auto push into someone into a duel that has 2 stuns. So I take Elise and Cannon over Elise and Rumble combination every single day. So I think they want Cannon and they want Elise. I think that's their big pick. And on red side, it's unlikely that would happen unless you leave up Nidalee for Svenskeren. And then that would, I don't want to leave Nidalee up for Svenskeren.
I mean, honestly,
it's weird.
If you're TSM, I almost think you leave it up and you try to bait Trashy into making that pick, because Trashy has shown that's what he's going to gravitate towards. And he has not looked good at that champion. It's the same champion that we used to make fun of him for all the time when he was on Enemy. He tries way too hard to make some plays. He'll somehow get out farmed by a Lee Sin. It just isn't good when that happens for him. And I think if you're TSM, you just first pick whatever you want and you try to bait Trashy into taking the Nidalee because you're afraid of Svenskeren getting it. And either you get the Nidalee, go team, or you don't, or Trashy takes it and you feel pretty happy about that.
There's no reason you should be banning Nidalee on blue side anyways. It's going to be a Splyce ban. Unless Splyce are trying to trick TSM into taking it, which if I'm Svenskeren, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll take that, no problem. So.
We take those. Where do you think the line is, Walter?
I have TSM at minus 500.
And again, my bad luck continues because I also said minus 500. And this is TSM minus 417. So only slightly above what we saw from Royal Never Give Up.
Splyce played them closer. It makes sense.
I think a lot of it just says, what do you think the real gap is between TSM and Royal Never Give Up? It's not a lot. Remember, we're talking in plus-minus odds because they're the easiest to explain in dollars or whatever currency you choose. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter the currency. I had someone actually comment on Reddit recently. It was like, could you use the decimals because I don't know what that means in pesos, and I'm like, no. It's 100 of your currency. It's fine, I promise. Yeah. But regardless, it's not a huge difference, minus 400 to minus 417. Mm-hmm. We're looking at a logarithmic scale on a decimal system.
Yeah.
It's 0.02 points. It's nothing. Mm-hmm. And that just, I think, says so much about how much respect that they have for both of these teams. And how much people are saying the same kind of things you are, right? You know, Splyce, for everything negative that I've said about them, and I've said a lot of negative things about them if you go back to my team preview, I thought they were going to go 0-6. I still think they are, but at the same time, there is enough talent on that roster. There's enough youth. There are enough people that are willing to take risks. There aren't as many clear liabilities. You know, you look at G2, they had clear liabilities. Perks was a liability. Expect was a liability. Splyce is losing because the teams they're playing are more cohesive than they are.
Yeah.
And that has a chance to change if someone overlooks them or doesn't plan properly or whatever else. So I think that's why the lines are maybe a little lower than some people might have expected them to be. That said, would you take Splyce at plus 290?
Not against Royal or TSM.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it against either of those two teams. I think the Samsung game is really where Splyce is gonna throw this group for a loop.
And we'll get there, but first we got to get to Samsung versus Royal Never Give Up. Now, what I'm getting this vibe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
I think you're lower on Samsung than I am. I think that's what I've gotten as a whole. Here.
I'm a little lower on Samsung, yes, because I think the talent is a little less than TSM and Royal. I think those two teams are more talented.
I think that is undoubtedly true. Okay. However, that did not matter the last time these two teams matched up. It was a Samsung victory. I wouldn't say convincing is the wrong word because that makes it sound like Royal got blown out, which was not at all the case. But it was never in doubt either. It was a very complete game. It had a very clear plan, start to finish. And it was one that I think was executed very well. So certainly I think that Samsung have shown that they understand how Royal wants to play and has a plan to upset that. What do you think Royal does to try to change that, to make sure they're not caught out by that kind of mistake again?
Don't give up a double kill to Skarnar in the bot lane at level 4.
Yeah.
I really think that was a huge crux in it because the entire rest of that laning phase, Uzi and Mata, anytime their flash were down, they were like, Skarnar might come kill us. Like we have to play super, super scared. And we saw that from multiple times when Skarnar was played. The teams were really, really, really scared of the Skarnar.
Yeah.
Anytime flashes are down, they're like, okay, now we have to literally sit under our towers. And sometimes it didn't matter. Like, TSM, sometimes they're just like, yeah, we're just going to go under the tower. Who cares? Like, impale and pull you back out. So I don't think that happens again. And I don't think he plays Skarnar again. They're blue side. So Ambition's really going to have his choice of what of like the top tier junglers he wants.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was weird to me that Royal struggled against Skarnar so much because Skarnar is a pick that, at least in competitive play, we've always seen do best when it's a surprise. And the surprise is that Royal tried to use it against TSM the first time they matched up, and then the Aurelion Soul bug happened. We never see that game. But Royal knows how Skarnar works. They clearly felt confident enough with the champion to play it, so they know the pathing, they know where he's likely to gank, and they still got caught out. And I don't know whether that's arrogance. I don't know, let's be honest here. Uzi and Mata are not shy about thinking, how good they are as individual players. That's not something that they've ever shied away from. It was
definitely a good play from CoreJJ and Ruler, connecting with the double roots, and then Skarnar appears with a stun. Like, it was definitely well executed by them. And in all honesty, I think that Royal had a really good composition against the Skarnar. We're talking about Nami, Cassiopeia, Caitlyn, Jace is the one that I go like, okay, now you're kind of like, now you're going way too hard on this poke composition when you already have a Nidalee and you don't really have a tank to body block the Skarnar.
Right.
And then, Samson ends it with a Kennen. Like, you can't do anything against a Kennen Skarnar coming in against that team. There's just not enough disengage to peel them off.
Yeah.
So I think that Skarnar was really able to snowball the game off of those 2 kills because he was able to get tanky very quickly. He was able to get into his tier 2 boots. He was able to really just move around the map. And a Skarnar that has some gold early on can out farm in Italy. Because of the altars, he really gains a lot of mana regen. He gains a lot of attack speed on some of the smaller camps. And he can really just skitter through his jungle much quicker than an Italy can, which seems very weird. So I think I'm a little higher on Royal just because I don't see that double kill happening again. And I view it as a huge crux in what Samson was able to accomplish in that game.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily going to disagree with you on that. I think the idea that you can count on an Uzi Mata double kill, good luck with that. Yeah. Like that's not a strategy that you really want to rely upon in the long term. What you really have to ask yourself at the end of the day is, how did that double kill happen? Yes, it was executed well, but it also should have been expected. And Uzi and Mata were pushed up, and there's this idea, and we can talk back and forth about whether you or I personally agree that Korea has this kind of dominance, this infrastructure, this whatever.
But okay.
But it's certainly something that Chinese teams seem to believe. When you look at how Chinese teams try to match up against Korean teams, Royal Never Give Up looked so much more aggressive than they did in their TSM game, where they were very patient, very methodical.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't push up waves. They were willing to cede certain objectives. Mm-hmm. Against Samsung, it almost felt like they felt this pressure. We need to make a play now, because if it gets to the late game, it gets to the macro decisions, it's a Korean team. They'll be smarter than us. That's just the sense that I got when I was rewatching the VOD. That's this kind of pressure to over push the lane. And so it doesn't matter whether it's real or not. It's real in the mentality that they took to it.
Sounds like they need a Weldon.
I think every team could use a Weldon, to be honest with you, but that's another
saying
argument
that sarcastically.
I know. Well, look, I'm always going to be in favor of psychologists on everything. That's just how I am. But at the end of the day, I think that Royal, got beat once. I don't think they're going to let that happen again, just because I think they're going to be prepared for it. I think they're going to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Where do you think the line is, Walter?
I have the line at Royal -120.
Yeah, you get this one, and I feel dumb, really, with my line.
I feel dumb
because I said Samsung -120. It's like, why would Samsung be favored other than the fact that they won the last 2 times they played? I mean the last time they played, I should say. Not 2 times. It would be going way too far back in Samsung's history to give them credit. But I look at the head of the head. I just said to myself, like, well, Samsung won that game. They look really good with CoreJJ.
But they lost to TSM.
Yeah, but that's not a bad loss to me. I don't see any.
They lost to a Western team. That's the problem. They lost to a Western team.
Yeah, and that's what the gamblers were looking at. The actual line is -135 for our Royal Never Give Up.
Okay.
They are the favorites. It's Samsung +105. And the problem there is it's not enough value. It's even less value than you get against TSM. I'm not sure, with this CoreJJ rotating much more efficiently version of Samsung, what we're going to see here and how much the upset value is. But I'm going to put it this way. When it's a +15 and +105, you're not really getting it.
There's not a lot there.
You should trust your gut. -149 is not a bad line for TSM.
Right.
If -135 for Royal is certainly not a bad line. If you think that Royal is good. And I happen to think that Royal could be, you're talking about the 4th and 5th best teams in the tournament could come out of this group. I think Royal right now is my front runner for the number 5 spot. That's where I have them right now.
I would absolutely agree. Absolutely.
And I think that, at -135, I take that team every time.
Yeah.
No matter what I think about Samsung's infrastructure. I think Royal's just, because Royal has great infrastructure. Royal's got a really good coach. They've got really smart players, veteran players. I'm not worried about them.
I think it's going to be really hard for those 3 teams to 2-0 each other. Even TSM versus Samsung, I look at that and go, there's a really good chance that Samsung can win this game. I just think it's going to be incredibly hard for those for these 3 teams to all be we went 2-0 against this one team, and I could just see this being a 3-3 split, and
yeah, I would love to see
split.
the 3-way 4-2 teaser where they all got revenge against each other, and so we have to do it all over again. I would love nothing more than that.
And then you have the next game, and that'll throw everything for a loop because Splyce will beat Samsung.
Wow. Well, okay.
This is the game that I think if Splyce is going to win a game, it's going to be this one.
I understand. I want to hear your Yamato cannon.
Mm-hmm.
What's your play?
Cannon.
How do you beat Samsung?
Cannon Elise.
Just
go after Kuve. Tell your bot lane to just play incredibly safe and don't put Senkooks on Cassiopeia. He's bad at it. Get him on something else. Get him on the Malzahar. I think Malzahar would actually be really good for him against Crown. Crown's been really weird. He's looked really, really good at times, and he's looked really, really scared at times.
Well, welcome to Crown, right? His champion pool tells the whole story. When he's on something he feels very comfortable with, his Victor being one of those things, he looks really freaking good.
Yeah.
When he's on anything outside of that champion pool, I don't know. It just seems like he's an entirely different player. And certainly limited champion pools is something that Trashy's certainly going to be able to sympathize with. And it's one of the things that, can you get the 1v1 Wonder over Kuve? Absolutely. I think the idea that Wonder is going to play as badly as he did, I am a firm believer in regression to the mean, which, as Bill Barnwell would say, that's a statistical mistake to make, but patterns would suggest that Wonder plays better than he did last week.
Yeah,
it would be really hard to imagine him playing much worse than he played last week. And so if you think that he can make, a play, get Trashy going. Look, I'm going to put it this way. If Mountain can figure out how to play Nidalee, Trashy can figure it out. Like that's where I'm at right now.
Throwing some shade.
Even AHQ felt. Look, man, you did not watch his Taiwanese Nidalee, man. I am the defender of the LMS, and I can tell you right now that's not something you subject yourself to willingly. It's great that it's not as terrible as it was, but that's Splyce had another week. They know what the meta is going to be. Trashy needs to be able to play. Yeah, look, if Trashy can play the Lee Sin, well, play the Lee Sin. Like, whatever it is he needs to do, I don't care what it is, but he has to do something different than he did last week, because last week was not good.
No.
And you say what you will about Wonder. I think Wonder we judge more harshly because we have higher expectations of him.
Yep.
But in all reality, I think Trashy played just as bad, if not worse.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I think that's the concern for me is you have to win the 2v2. And Ambition is playing well at this tournament. It's in his meta pool.
Yep.
So did Trashy pick some things up? I certainly think it's in play. I agree with you that given that you have to attack the top lane, this is the weakest of the 3 top lanes.
Yep.
I'm very, very hesitant to give Splyce credit against any of these teams, just because I think, in a perfect world, like Samsung could be a quarterfinalist in a different group. Like they are not a bad team by any means. So it's going to be hard, but we'll see. Where do you think the line is, Walter?
Unless Trashy somehow decides to bring back like Gragas in the meta, maybe, possibly, I have Samsung at minus 450.
See, I said Samsung minus 500, and you're going to notice a trend here, which is that I picked minus 500 for all 3 of these teams against Splyce, because I figured they all beat each other once. I don't see that much of a gap, and I don't see why Splyce should be considered close to any of them. Apparently, that was a silly way to see things. The actual line is minus 370. And with that, Walter, I believe you have a 2-point lead over me right now overall. You secured the day with that, for the record. So congratulations.
I have a 3-point lead over you.
It should be 25 to 23 right now. I have the
official
count in front of me.
Okay, on today, lead. I have a 3-point lead on you. Today
you have a 3-point lead.
But yes, now I'm ahead of you by
because
2.
I split the 2 games that I would have won because you were just as smart as I was, you monster. This is the worst. I have been so excited about being ahead this entire time. I had a lead for 6 days. I am the Flash Wolves of this podcast. I was leading up until the very end, and here I am blowing it in front of everybody. This is not what I wanted. This is not what
I talked to my buddy Koobs, and he's like, "It's all about the late game, man. Play for the late game. Play for that 90-minute game." Here we are. We're entering the 70th minute, and
can we get Koobs on this podcast? Is it? I mean, what else is he doing? Like, he's got to be available, right? Gotta imagine. It's worth a shot.
I don't know. He was wearing a Cloud9 bomber jacket today. That doesn't help me.
I don't know, man. I think there are a lot of things we could say about Koobs, but none of them could be on this podcast. So we're gonna move forward. Game of the night, possibly game of the group stage, just in terms of sheer hype going in. Royal versus TSM. Well, look, we didn't know that Albus Nox versus Rox was going to be a battle of 2 3-in-1 powerhouses, okay? Like, if we had that in retrospect.
Yeah, let's hurry it up here, boys.
Which, for the record, can we just apologize to the fans of the podcast? Because I feel like you and I both subconsciously underrated Albus Nox because we wanted to not jinx them really badly. Like, I was just so afraid that if we said, I don't care about the stats, I think Albus Nox is going to figure it out, like, that would have just ruined the entire thing.
Right.
So we just avoided the possibility.
We can't say that because we know the casinos don't think that, and we're gambling. We're betting against the casinos here.
No, but I'm talking about we could have advertised those smart money bets a little bit more. I know several of our fans. I think we had one on Twitter. I'm going to try to get his name right now because he deserves a shout out. He's been making a lot of, because he's in Europe and you're allowed to gamble online there. He's been doing quite well for himself, betting on nobody but Albus Nox
Making
Luna.
that dank paper.
And by the way, guys, fans, we love hearing from you guys. Please do, share your betting slips with us when you get the opportunity. I can't find it now. I'll look for it. I'll give you a shout out in the comments section, whoever you are, and thank you for listening. But this is going to be an exciting game. I mean, this is the game where I thought it was the most technically proficient game of the first round. I thought, as far as both teams being neck and neck and really having to outsmart each other for every little inch, I thought this game was really impressive from both sides. Like, TSM obviously lost the game, but I didn't feel like it was a bad loss. I felt like they played against a team who played at their very best, and it just wasn't quite enough. And maybe, all it takes is maybe Orianna is a more damage-oriented champion, and you give Bjergsen the opportunity to do some things outside of some of the, just the team fights, and maybe things are different. Mm-hmm. It's those little things that, that this game came down to.
But it wasn't the Orianna early game. Like, the Orianna early game matched up with Svenskeren and Lee Sin was really good. They were picking off
great.
Xiaohu. Like, they were playing really well. It just got into, like, late game macro decision making where Doublelift and Biofrost's positioning was questionable. They were not respectful to the Mata Alistar. I think Alistar just gets banned. I think TSM just bans Alistar and says Mata beat us with something else.
I think that all Western teams should be banning Alistar against Eastern teams. This is one of those picks where the Eastern teams, whether it's China or Korea, are all playing it. It's now 8-1, I believe. It's either 8-1 or 9-1 after the Group A games that we've seen so far. But either way, it's incredibly dominant. Mm-hmm. And all of the Eastern teams, this is clearly something they've been playing for a while, and they are, completely capable of pulling it out and making game-defining plays with it. Just don't give it to them, especially not Mata, especially not a guy who was once the MVP of a world championship team.
9-1. That is, Alistar is 9-1. And the shout-out to our friend on Twitter, @CDR is OP. The final countdown. Congratulations on gambling on Albus Nox Luna all throughout the group stage and making a bunch of money.
Yeah, there's the guy. Thank you, Walter, for actually spending the 10 extra seconds that I didn't do to get to switch over to our other Twitter. Oh, boy.
TweetDeck OP. Yeah, but Alistar is 9-1. I just think TSM bans it out because Mata showed that he could play Nami pretty well in the Splyce game, but against Samsung, it was not good. So I think you challenge him and you say, are you going to bring out the Thresh? Are you going to bring out another playmaker? Because the way teams are playing Nami, River from Esports Wikis, I think she's going to have an aneurysm from how poorly teams are utilizing Nami Ultimate. Yeah. Because, folks, as a gold player here, Nami's Ultimate is not for engage, unless it's used as a secondary engage, like against a Sejuani Frozen 2, where they're already CC'd and you're guaranteed to hit your ultimate. Yeah. You should be holding your ultimate as a disengage, because when those divers come into your into your team, you ult, you disengage, you knock them up, and then you bubble them immediately, and your 80 carry Jhin roots them and just blows them up, and you go, haha, Aurelia, nice try. So please, professional supports, please listen to myself and River, us low-tier players that instead make our money analyzing you and collecting stats about you. Listen to us instead. Don't use Nami Wave for engage. This has been a public service announcement.
Look, River puts so much time and effort and heart into running Esportspedia for all of us.
Esports Wikis.
I don't know what I just said.
Esports Wikis.
Esports Wikis.
I will hop on top of you for that. Esports
so
Wikis.
Much time and effort. Well, it's an incredible site. I love Esports Wikis. We use it for everything.
Not in the Trump way either. Like, we actually use the site.
Yeah, no, this is actually just an incredible thing that she's made. And if you should repay her work and dedication to the scene by landing a half decent Namiul. Like that's all she asks people.
Yep.
Just, oh man. I was about to make a terrible joke about Hurricane Andrew, but we're going to keep or Hurricane Matt, I should say. But we're going to keep moving on. Look, I agree with you. I really do think that Mata needs to be challenged. I think the next answer for him though is the Tahm Kench. It's another tanky support that is playmaking and saves, whatever. But I mean, you'd still rather that than engage. It's a different kind of engage. But it certainly provides a nice amount of disengage without having to worry about giving River any heart attacks, which is quite nice. Fair enough. Think is a little side bonus.
Funny from the River King.
Yeah, I walked right into that.
Yes, you did.
Much like all of the bushes that I end up getting killed into when I play League of Legends in my low silver play. I just walked right into that, and I deserve it.
It's okay. I was Ivern. I just popped the bush on top of you. I was just like, here you go.
This is a 30-second tangent. But did you see the Daniel Klein tweet about Ivern today?
I did not. What did he say?
He said that the best passive-aggressive thing you can say to another champion designer after their new champion comes out is to say, man, that champion sure is fair.
This is from Daniel Klein, who made Lucian and Azir, correct?
Exactly. I'm just saying.
Like, you made like a bunch of those champions where we're like, you're a dick. I hate you.
Certainly T was Yasuo. I love that. I loved his thing earlier. He said something along the lines of, why did you make Yasuo? So it would kill you over and over again until you learned how to beat it. Like, you know what, man? Like, good for you. We need some sadist on the team. We've already got our anime fans that are clearly running riot now after the brilliant Star Guardian trailer that makes my heart happy on the inside. I loved it.
This is not a moment where I wish you could see my face.
Look, I can feel your face through the camera. I know what you're thinking.
I'm gonna buy the Jinx skin because it's Jinx and I love Jinx, but like
I'm gonna buy. I might have accidentally just bought all of the skins in like a haze, like just a mesmerized, hypnotized.
You created 5 more accounts just so you could buy them.
I mean, look, I loved it. I thought it was really stylized. I think Riot's just made a lot of good moves lately. We need to get back to this game.
Yeah, I was about to be like, all right, let's drag it back here.
What, as a TSM fan, what scares you most? I mean, we already talked about they're going to ban the Alistar. They're on red side now. We think that at the very least, Royal, they played a very dangerous game last time around. As far as, giving up all those objectives. Like, they really needed to pull off perfect fights. Yeah. And they did, but that is a hard way to go if you're trying to win consistently. What are you most afraid of?
I want to say Mata, but we've already just spent 10 minutes discussing Mata before we tangented. So
yeah,
I'm going to say
other than Mata.
I'm going to say the Looper carry game. If he hasn't had a carry game against Samsung or Splyce by now, like by this game, like it's the last game. It will probably decide who's the 1 or 2 seed out of the group. It's just screams like Looper play Jace and just styles on us. And that's, other than Mata being the god that he is. And, at one time we were saying, well, is Faker or Mata really the best player in the world? Like,
yeah. As someone who's inheriting, TSM because I'm North American and therefore I must root for all North American teams.
Absolutely.
Unless they're playing wild cards, in which case I have a one-time exemption.
One-time exemption every time?
Yeah, every time. One-time exemption per day. They can only play each other once per day, so it counts.
What if Aldous Knox played like Cloud9 or TSM in the quarterfinals?
Oh, I'm sorry, North America. You can't look.
But then your exemption's gone. You can only use it once per day, and there's 5 games.
I believe Mike Pence said that you always have to be aware of the Russian bear, who's hibernating but can always wake up at any moment, even though no one had ever said that. The Russian bear has been awoken. I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna keep rooting for it.
I like it.
But if I'm inheriting TSM, the thing that scares me, and no one wants to talk about it, and I understand why, because he's played so well. There are people that have genuinely said the phrase, "I think Svenskeren is the best jungler at Worlds right now." And I don't necessarily disagree with that based off the 3 games we've seen so far. He's been amazing. Has Svenskeren ever put 6 perfect games together in a row. That concerns me. Like, you're looking at a really amazing jungler in MLXG.
I would say in the playoffs. I would say the CLG and Cloud9 series, even the game they lost against Cloud9, Svenskeren played really, really well.
He's great. I mean, look, he's going to be very good, but is he going to be able to... Is there a chance that MLXG just goes off and Svenskeren has one off game because it's very hard to play at the level that he's been playing at for... I mean, no, you're not worried.
We've only seen one MLXG game where he goes off. Like,
okay.
See, here's the thing.
Good
like,
to hear.
We say, like, oh, are you scared of Svenskeren? If you're a Royal fan, are you scared of Svenskeren? They have Bjergsen and Double Lift. Like, you say, are you scared of MLXG? I'm like, they have Uzi and Mata and Looper. Like, MLXG is an afterthought to me, which shouldn't be because he's an amazing, amazing jungler. And I think he might be the best jungler in China because Clearlove has been unimpressive to me.
Yeah, we'll see how Clearlove does when the Group C games go down, which technically have already happened by the time you're listening to this.
That is true.
But we're using our fancy time machine to get to where you are now.
So I can tell you guys, you want to gamble on EDG to win all 3 of their games, and you want AHQ to win 2 of their games, and
Walter, we already did that
one
episode.
of their games.
We already did that episode.
But I'm just telling them, like, you guys need. I'm from the future. Like, I'm telling you what you like. What you want to gamble on? Oh wait, this isn't live.
What do they want to gamble on? TSM versus Royal, Walter. Where do you think the line is?
I have the most TSM fan line ever. Mm-hmm. TSM minus 145.
Yeah, that was a little TSM fanny. I get the point here.
What? So I don't sweep it?
I keep it within 1. I get 1 point this entire day by myself. It's 25-24 overall on the challenge, so I'm within 1. After I had such a nice lead too. It's day 8. I'm gonna like do a super deep dive just to find my way back.
Dude, you keep taunting me about it. You bring up the logo picture every single time. It's like it's about to bite you in the butt now, buddy.
It's not looking great, but I do get this one. I said TSM minus 130. Even odds minus 115.
That sounds right. I thought you were gonna go higher on TSM.
I
thought you were gonna go TSM minus 150.
I think all 3 of these teams, like, I'm a little bit higher on Samsung than you are. I still think they're the weakest of the 3. Mm-hmm. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think they're very smart. I love what they do as far as macro rotations when CoreJJ is in the lineup. Agreed. I think their neutral objectives are a lot better. I think their rotations are a lot better. I think they hide some of their mechanical deficiencies a lot better. And when we talk about mechanical deficiencies, we're not talking about a massive gap. We're looking at, basically a Chinese and North American super teams, right? Like, Royal was supposed to be the super team in China. Yeah. They were playing in the harder of the 2 groups, and they just completely crapped the bed when they played EDG in the finals, which is unfortunate. We got, that was a series that we should have had a lot of fun with, and they just decided not to show up. But these are super teams that they're going up against, which means that you have to play basically perfectly in order to get a win. And that's why I don't think Splyce is going to get one against either one. And it's why, controversially, I don't think Samsung gets a win against either of those teams. Sure. I think Samsung ends up 3-3, and I think this game decides the group. And that's why I'm excited for it more than anything else, because I think this game could not only decide the group, but could decide, how much your liver is ready for whatever comes on Sunday, whatever the Bills are doing. I haven't looked at your schedule yet, but
they're in not St. Louis, Los Angeles.
Oh man, see, I thought I was bad earlier when I didn't say esports wikis when I should have, but that was hurtful. They lost. That's a whole city that just felt some pain there. They don't even know why.
St. Louis Rams in Los Angeles.
That's fair. I can dig that, and hopefully you guys dig the podcast. It was we are going to continue churning out episodes for you guys. Sunday, tomorrow, by the time you guys listen to this, we will put out our Guest Alliance podcast for Group B, so you're definitely going to want to come back for that if you enjoyed this. You can find that on our YouTube page. If you just search Rough Drafts Podcast, you'll be able to find all of our stuff there. We're so close to getting that URL. I check every day. You guys have done a nice job subscribing. Really appreciate it. Keep doing that. It really does make a big difference for us. I've responded to all of your comments today. I'm even checking our email, roughdraftspodcast.gmail.com, at gmail.com, I should say. We have one. We didn't check it for like a month, but if you guys, I saw some people saying like, oh, I wish I could talk to them, but I don't have a Twitter. It's like, okay, there's our email. Now you can talk to us. Of course, I do think that you should have fun with our Twitter. I'm at RedShirtKing if you want to talk to me about anything I said. Walter, where can the nice people at home find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me at Ceades_LOL. Definitely come back tomorrow because Chase and I had a very, very long argumentative discussion off air earlier today that we were recording. And yeah, you guys are just going to see me completely and utterly disrespect Flash Wolves for Chase's insolence to argue against me like that. So
look,
Flash Wolves are going to be like plus 10,000 odds every single series.
That's fine. I need to get some points back. So please do that. And please do follow at Rough Drafts Pod on Twitter. That's where we do our live tweeting. And I do want to say really quick, because I can't forget you audio only listeners. SoundCloud.com/esportsroughdrafts. iTunes, you can search Rough Drafts there. We're going to keep churning out this audio content for you guys. We love doing the video because I think our expressions, I'd like to think that, the terrible stares that Walter gives me when I say something that he hates, I think it's worthwhile. But look, I listen to all my podcasts on the go too, so definitely subscribe there, download it, do whatever you want. We give the people what they want, which is great content. And tomorrow we're going to talk about Group B, and by then we should have a plan on when our next live stream is going to be. We're going to recap everything from week 2. We did a live stream of that last time around. It was a ton of fun. We want to do another one. We're going to give you the details on that tomorrow, so be sure to come back. And until then, goodbye, Internet.